Good evening and welcome to Steve Wraith's True Crime Podcast. And delighted to welcome a good friend of mine, Aaron. And wow, what a journey you've had, mate. Unbelievable to see you on screen, ready to go with the launch of your new book.
Yes,
And
yes.
something which has been in planning for probably, I don't know, the last year that I've been in touch with you. Through the Eyes of Mine, coming out this month. And tell us a little bit about the nickname, because I got the pronunciation wrong. The old Geordie accent let us down when we were in the green room pre things. I said LOCZ, which of
Yeah.
course is the old Geordie accent coming out. Tell us what the nickname is and what that's all about.
And basically, it's just LOCZ means probably back when I was a juvenile. Just probably just had just a bit more, just probably just didn't care about certain responsibilities, or just a bit, it's a bit out of hand, where it's a bit hard to control. So it's a bit LOCZ kind of, it's a bit Looney Tune kind of stuff. So the name
Yeah.
kind of just stuck. Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. Well, I'm going to give the people who are watching a little bit of an idea of what the book's about. Aaron Nathan LOCZ Grossman was a member of one of the most notorious deadly gangs to ever come out of Manchester, England, also known globally as GOOCH or Y.G.C, grown up in a place which was nicknamed GUNCHESTA. Before he entered into the life of gangbanging, drugs, bloody wards, which led to a long stay in prison system, he was already infatuated with a lifestyle consistent of violence, robberies, hustling, and learning the game from the pimps and prostitutes he started robbing, the punters, escaping from lawful custody and going through the system as a child, having to fight for survival in care homes and residential schools. That is a hell of an introduction to the back of a book. Let's go back to your very early days. What are your first childhood memories?
Growing up, like I had a perfect childhood, like mother, like beautiful, perfect mum, sister. Before my little brother was born, he's like 7 years older, 7 years younger. My sister is three. My sister's 3 years, 3 years older than me. So just like perfect, like growing up in beautiful household, no violence, no drugs, no alcohol. Just a beautiful surrounding, family, friends. Just had like a good upbringing. So my mum was always there for us. Didn't really have a dad, so it was just kind of like, just not really kind of like. My dad didn't really exist as I was a child, so it was just all like kind of like uncles, mothers, cousins, cousins of mine. So it's kind of like family support really growing up. So had a good childhood really.
That's interesting to hear, because a lot of the people who I interview or who I've met throughout my time tend to have stories of bad childhoods, of abuse and violence. I mean, was there any of that in your childhood in those early years?
No, like my mum. But my mum, she's a beautiful lady, so she was no kind of. My mum kind of protected us from any sort of influences that kind of like would have affected our childhood like that. So it was more, it was kind of more influences that I had watching probably, things on the TV that kind of like influenced me a lot. So yeah, it was my mum. It was because I didn't have a dad. I think it was just kind of basically like the family was more kind of like together. Like there was no kind of alcohol abuse. Like the
Yeah.
mum didn't have no violent boyfriends. Like I said, it was just a beautiful childhood that I had. Like there was no kind of violence, no drugs, like, and it's no sort of influence that I had was just watching TV.
Yeah, okay. What was it like at school then? I mean, were you much of a scholar? Did you enjoy school?
I enjoyed school to the ages of about, say, about five. So about 5 years old, that's when I kind of like fell off a little bit because of the departure of my mum's boyfriend at the time. He passed. So he was kind of like more of a father figure to me at that time. So when he like departed, it was more kind of like a lost child then, and then kind of just fell off, kind of not being interested in school or not listening to peers and not listening to the teachers and stuff like that. So I can kind of say it kind of my attitude and my behavior kind of changed when I was about 5 years old, really.
That's quite young. It
Mm.
is. Yeah, it is. It is quite young. I mean, did you get into sports or anything, or was there any interest in that? I mean, if the education wasn't suiting you, were you athletic?
Yeah, I've done a lot of sports, done a lot of like activities on sports days. So the teachers even kind of pointed out to scholars as I was a kid that I was good at football and basketball and stuff like that. So I think I think it was more kind of my discipline. I didn't have that much discipline as a child, so I was kind of like hard of hearing. So anybody that kind of showed me or tried to teach me the right way, I just felt like I, knew it. I just felt like I knew it all. So I kind of just disregarded, the advice that people gave me. Really,
So you see, you came off the wagon, the educational wagon at five. What kind of things were you doing? Were you not bothering to? Were you not going to school? Were you just not paying attention? Were you misbehaving in class?
yeah, that's what it was. It was just like misbehaving, really, just doing little things. Like being cheeky to the teachers, like bringing stuff in from home and bringing it into school and getting it taken from the teachers, and like coming back to school at like 6, 7 years old when things would get taken, and I'd try and break into the school to get my stuff back. So it was just kind of like it was just I don't know. I was just always thinking like bad, really. I was just always just into bad stuff. So it just changed from I think losing my mother's boyfriend just affected me just that much. It just kind of like just stayed me off course a little bit for my attitude and my behavior.
Okay, so what was it like on the streets with friends? Did you interact with people well? Did you have a lot of friends in and around your area?
I was a quiet one, really. When I was a kid growing up, I was quiet, so I was very observant. I didn't say a lot, so I was more quiet. Where you'd have to know me to kind of like understand like who I was as a person. So I was more kind of quiet, just observing, and if people spoke to me, then I'd like kind of have a conversation. But I was just, I didn't want to hear anything from anybody, really. Like I think the loss of it's called Sly, a Trevor Daly, aka Sly, when he departed. I think that just contributed to a lot of just negative thoughts that was in my head. So I didn't really kind of like, acknowledge um you know, anybody, really, even school teachers, not listening to my mum, like my auntie Julie, like obviously very close to me. Like when I was a little bit bad and didn't go to school and stuff like that, my mum would send me to Julie, and so she was more kind of solid with like just more assertive, like this kind of more authoritative and kind of just stamped her kind of just foot on the ground a bit more. So I kind of listened to her more than my mum a little bit more because my mum was kind of soft. Like I said, she's a beautiful lady. So to avoid confrontation, my mum would just send me off to Julie's like for about a week or two, and I'd like be a different person, go to school, like do everything there, and then as soon as Julie would send me back to her mum's, I'd just be a little shit again. So it was I think it was more taking advantage of my mum because she was soft and like she didn't really kind of like stamp her authority, to me that much. And I think, I just took advantage of my poor mum for a bit. Yeah.
Why do you think the departure of your mum's boyfriend had such a big effect? I mean, was he an influence in your life at such a young age?
Yeah, major. Like he's kind of like the dad I never had, really, innit? So it was, he never left us without, and it wasn't even about material things with him or anything. It was just about the love and the support, and just kind of like just knowing that even though I didn't have a dad, he was always there to guide me and show me that even though I had a mum, you need a man in your life to kind of show you certain ways to kind of deal with certain things. So I think because I had a strong connection with that and with him, I think his departure just kind of just made me just kind of just hate the world and just kind of like rebel against everything, really. So that was kind of like the main sort of like pinnacle in when like my behavior kind of changed for everything.
You say you were influenced quite heavily by what you were watching on TV. I mean, what kind of things could you watch on TV that would, made you behave badly?
Well, as you'll see in my book, there's I've put like a description of like the movies and like even like the music that I used to listen to, like when I was like probably say 6, 7, 8 years old, staying at like friends' houses and their bigger brothers, they'd listen to like DMX, Snoop Dogg, Brother Lynch Hung, X-Rated, um, just a load of like just a load Run DMC, like there's a load of like Jay-Z, Nas, it's a load of influences that kind of educated you in through music and educated you through films. So like films would be like Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, New Jack City, just all these hood movies and just all movies that consist of violence, like gun crime, gangs, cars, girls, like just the whole aspect of like the street kind of stuff. That was like more kind of like my kind of style when I was watching or listening to music or watching movies. So they kind of influenced me.
Did that excite you then? Is that what you aspired to be when you were watching those films? I mean, Boys in the Hood was a great film, and I mean it was around that time that NWA were quite prevalent. Coming across, the music scene was changing across. Things tend to come from America, but usually about 5 or 6 years later. I remember NWA making such an impression on me. I mean, I still think Straight Outta Compton's a fantastic album, and I subsequently followed Eazy-E after that, and put Eazy-E's son on up in Newcastle a few years ago. Actually, I promoted him and brought him over, and MC Ren came with him. But going off track slightly, is that kind of music did say a certain thing to a certain generation. Is that basically what you're saying? And did those kind of films make you aspire to be that particular person?
Yeah, bro. It was just like Eazy-E was probably a major influence with me when I was growing up. He kind of like schooled me on education of like the police brutality. He came at the game due to everyone else. He kind of stood out for me a lot more. He was kind of like my main guy, and just like I wouldn't say that I inspired to be a gang member or a robber or anything to do with that by watching the movies. I can just say that it was exciting to watch because it was more of like it was more like the action side of things for me. Like that was like kind of a bit more exciting to watch. So I couldn't say that they influenced me a little bit, but I wouldn't say I inspired to be anything else other than probably like I was like a footballer. I was a good kid. I was a good footballer, innit? I just didn't have the discipline. So I think not having the discipline, as well as just not having the right guidance after the departure of Sly, that kind of just led me off path a bit. And I couldn't like I say, it was just probably that really. Yeah.
Okay, John is in the chat. He's asked a question. He said, "Did you suffer any bullying as a youngster?"
Well, yeah, that's like probably when I was in care, yeah, like because I was in care as a child, and it's different from being in normal school to, being in that surroundings because,
So, how did you end up in care?
well, that's basically due to this my behavior and the lead up to not going to education, not listening to my mum. I was just bringing police to the house every minute. I was just bad. Like I was just like social services was getting involved. Education was just writing reports about me, but I was bad. I was just like, I was bringing in, them like pocket knives with like loads of different, get like,
Oh, like a Swiss Army knife.
you get like screwdrivers on them, you get
Yeah.
knives on them, you get can openers on them, you get like just little things like that. I was just bringing stupid things into school like that. So they was getting taken off me, put into reports. I'd just be smashing the school windows, smashing the teachers' car windows, breaking into school, like I said, robbing my stuff back. I was just a crazy kid. Like I was just robbing people, like not robbing people actually like physically, but just robbing things like bikes out of gardens and robbing things out of cars. Like I was just bad. Like just getting picked up by the police a lot, and then I was going to town, robbing out of the gambling the gambling machines. I was just bad. I was just bad. Like it was just a load of stuff that was just getting reports about me, and my mum was telling me that because I was so young and I didn't understand. Obviously, what I was doing, I did understand what I was doing was bad, but I didn't understand the effect of what it was going to lead to for what I was doing. So when my mum told me like you need to slow down and calm down and just go to school and start behaving yourself, otherwise they're going to take you off me. So I just like disregarded her and told her like, oh, they're not going to take you off me. They can't take you off me. I'm your son. You know what I mean? So, you never you never believe it and kind of like until it happens to you. So, just one day, I think after everything, after all the bad behavior and all the police reports and the teachers and the social services and all that stuff, after all that, I think just one day they just came to my house, police authorities, social services, the care people from the actual care home that I was going to, and just like come and pick me up and just took me away.
What did you feel like when that happened?
It wasn't a good feeling because I didn't quite understand what was happening to me. So I just felt at that time I felt all bad and like it didn't really kick in at the time. But when I actually finally got to the actual place where I was going to, it kind of just, it was a big slap in the face that it was out of my mum's hands now, and I was in the custody of social services. So after my mum left, because she actually came with me that day, my sister came, just to like give me a bit of comfort to obviously, so I've got like a bit of support, obviously going to the place. But yeah, it was a horrible feeling. Like I was only 9 years. I was only just turned 9 years old when that happened.
Wow, 9 years of age, and you're facing this time away from the home. Did things escalate from there?
Yeah, things got bad really. Things like I said, because it was a different environment that I was used to. Going to care and being not at the time, because when I went to the Roaches, that's the first care home that I went to. That was like a care home for kids that was between 5 and 11 years old. So there was only like, I think there was like roughly 8 kids there at the time, but I was only the black mixed race kid there, because I think that was like near enough, say 27 years ago. So in the system back then, there was no kind of like, there's no kind of like mixed Caribbean kids within the system. There's only a few, and I was one of them. And I think just going to a place where you're not known to, that you don't see many black people as well. It was in Stoke-on-Trent, it was in Biddulph. It was like Meerbrook first, and then it was just kind of like racist remarks that I had to deal with a lot of like racist stuff. Like just a lot of it, really. Like, that's what I had to deal with. That's more kind of bullying. It wasn't kind of physical until I got to the older school. So when I was like kind of 9, like between 9 and 11 in the Roaches farm, that was in Meerbrook, on the hills in the middle of nowhere, but beautiful place. I stayed there for like 2 years, and then when I turned 11, they moved me to Fairhaven, which is the same school, but just the older kids. So that's when it got a bit worse, like in Fairhaven.
Okay, so you're in Fairhaven. How does it get worse? Are you starting to mix with older kids?
Yeah, because there's kids from 11 there till 16 now. So there's more kind of bigger kids. Like, yeah. I'm only like, probably say not even 5 foot, probably say 4'10" or something, very small. So I was very small for my age. So when I got to the bigger school, that's when the kind of bullying, the physical bullying started. Then it was like probably just not getting hit, but getting thrown things at me. So if I'll be sitting in class, and then at the back there'd be like people at the back of me like throwing things at me. Just a load of like torment was going on, and then there for about a few months kicked in, and then I had to like started to fight. Then like people started to like wanted to like kind of, because I think they started to throw at me and I didn't really kind of do nothing. I think that led to them starting to wanting to like physically wanting to punch me, or like just gang up on me a little bit. So that's how it started, really.
You mentioned your venture into crime. I haven't asked you this, but I mean, was there ever any remorse or guilt at those first little bits of crime you did? I think when you speak to most people, as a child, somebody will have gone into a shop and maybe nicked a packet of polos, or they'll have smashed a neighbour's window, or you know what I mean, they would nicked an apple out of somebody's orchard. But from your perspective, the things that you were doing were a step above that. Was there any remorse? Were you worried? Were you concerned about your behaviour, or was it, were you not bothered at all?
Because I wasn't bothered after the departure from, like I said, my mum's boyfriend, which was very close to me. My whole kind of aspect of my behaviour just went out the window.
Your mindset changed. I find that fascinating. I do. I find that fascinating because I always had a conscience when I was younger, and my conscience was pricked. And it's clear that particular incident with him leaving has clearly changed the direction. Okay, the book obviously focuses on gang culture and GUNCHESTA, as Manchester eventually became known. What was your first introduction to gang life?
Like gangs becomes like, I wouldn't say I was like gang because it was more kind of family back then for me. Like it was more kind of true friends and like kind of people that looked after you properly. That this the togetherness that you had being together as friends that formed like the relationship, what the outsiders would consider as a gang. But for me, because I didn't have no older brothers, or I didn't have no older uncles, or my dad, or none of my family members was ever part of any gang. So I wouldn't class myself as being in a gang. It was just probably from the outsiders looking in, like labeling me and others where we was from at that time. And when you get outsiders coming in and trying to like bully you or trying to like, you know, whether shooting at you or, you know, whether coming around taking your bike or whether they just come into your community and trying to like disturb it, like for you and others, then it takes there's only a few people that, you know, will stand for, you know, their community and for the people. Others will, you know, go to police and, you know, go down that road. So for me, I wouldn't let anybody, you know, outsiders come in and, you know, harm my people like in any way. So for me, it was just about the love, not the gang. Or I wouldn't say I'd done anything for, you know, the gang fame or anything like that. It was more true friends for me. It was more more of the togetherness and like the love and just like the respect that we had for each other.
Yeah. You know, obviously the explosion of gun crime in Manchester, as I've already mentioned, you know, gave the city a bad reputation. You know, what was your view on that as somebody who was, you know, at the ringside of it, I guess?
Like I said, it's probably just outsiders looking in, not really kind of knowing the people that are from that community and the decisions or the, you know, kind of, yeah, the decisions that people have to make, because sometimes it is all about survival. And from the outside looking in, that may seem a bit crazy to others, but, you know, for people that are living there, you know, it's a bit difficult sometimes growing up in surroundings where like things happen that are probably out of your hands. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's just the way somebody's life ends up really, and if sometimes we ain't got no control over where we're from or, you know, where we are. We just gotta somehow can control how we, you know, how we go about things, and some decisions are better than others. And, you know, unfortunately for me, I just kind of went, you know, I just went, it was just protection for my people, really. Like I said, I wasn't letting anybody, you know, bully me or anything like that. So I didn't have no older brothers. So for me, I just wanted to be, known for the respect and just like looking after my people. You know what I mean? So that was it, really. Like I can just say from the outside looking in, like I could understand how people may view it, but for people that are living there, like I said, it's a beautiful place, and my book doesn't consist of the gang culture. It's only, you know, it just explains that people like myself that are from where we're from, we can, you know, even though we've done what we've done and I've a bad past life or we've made a few bad decisions, I mean, maybe classed as being considered in a gang. But, you know, it's just, you know, it's me, you know, to have the opportunity to let the outsiders know and people that don't know that, you know, we're not all bad, and it's not all bad coming where we're from, because, you know, it's a beautiful place, and, you know, it's just a shame that people have to just make a few bad decisions, and, you know, it just gets labeled as a bad place, but it's not really.
Obviously, on your cover, you mentioned, you know, you were part of the GOOCH gang. Tell us, you know, what the GOOCH gang was all about, what it stood for, and what was the rivalry with the other firms. I mean, you know, I had to look at the you know, the GUNCHESTA period when I was researching to write Kelly Massey's book, help Kelly Massey write her book about her dad Paul. I found it fascinating. I've got to be perfectly honest. I looked at it and thought, you know, I personally thought, you know, it was it was almost like a pointless war. But obviously, at the time, those people who were fighting would look at it and think that it was, you know, it was all about defending the streets, etc. But, you know, just tell us a little bit about it.
Like that's what I say. Like for me, like the Gooch and the Dodderton rivalry, this is way before my time. Like it wasn't like, this is probably say dating back 20, 30 years prior to even I was alive. So for me to comment on how it started or the way it was back then, I couldn't tell you, because the research that I've done for myself, that I've put inside my book, I think to gain that knowledge myself is that it wasn't that way. And this is where the outsiders looking in need to see where the knowledge that's been lost and the knowledge that's been kind of, you know, because people have died like over the past 20, 30 odd years before my time. So the
Still
knowledge
dying now.
you know what I mean? So the knowledge that's been it's all been lost. So for me to kind of have this opportunity now, being from where I'm from and having the knowledge, you know, I just feel like the narrative coming from the outside needs to get changed. So I think without the knowledge kind of being put, you know, to the people in the right way, the narrative of the gang culture and where people are from will always get consist of being in a bad light. But, you know, people need to see that, and people need to understand that, you know, it's not all about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's a positive message which your book gives, and we don't want to give too much away. We want people to go and buy the book and read it and educate themselves and learn. Unfortunately for you, life did lead you into the prison system. You know, was that a wake-up call?
They're kind of like, it was a big wake-up call, because it kind of made me see both sides to life of like what's actually important, what's actually not important. So I think the long stay in prison kind of did consist of long, you know, just long days and, you know, cold nights in cells, kind of thinking like, you know, what does my life kind of consist of, and where do I want to be, you know, when I finally do come out of prison? Do I want to carry on with the gangbanging, or do I want to change my life, or do I want to kind of give something positive back to, you know, the likes of people like me where I'm from, to kind of like open certain minds, to kind of just tell them that it's not where we're from, it's where we're going. It's not how we start, it's how we finish. So if we can, you know, if I can do it, and I can come out from, you know, having, you know, a bad journey in life, then we've got to take something good out of this bad situation that, you know, I found myself in. So I think just me doing that kind of just opens up the doors for many people like myself to kind of see that, you know, it's possible to do.
Chapter 8 in the book is called The Concrete Grave. Why the title for that chapter?
Because I think the only place closer to a grave is being in a cell. So, and that's the loneliest place in the world. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, you know, I've come across many big men in prison, whether they're doing life or whether they're doing double figures or whether they're just doing like a year or two or whatever. And they even actually say, like, you know, it's not about us really doing in prison, doing the time. Like, when you're actually doing it, it's your family that actually are kind of suffering with you. So it's just the pain that gets left behind. And it's not a nice place to kind of be in for so many years. And then, you know, you start losing track of, you know, family and friends, of, you know, what they look like. That's why pictures are more valuable in prison to you than you would ever think. Even just a letter just in prison just goes a long way. So yeah, like, it's not a nice place to be, to kind of like, you know, leave everything behind that you love, especially when you've got to do a lot of years in prison. It's them that suffer with you. So I think that's probably one of the main reasons.
Yeah, as I've said at the top of the program, it is a positive book. Lots of positive comments coming in. Natalie says, "Well done, bros. Super proud of you." Ryan says, "They make prison too easy. That's why no one cares if they go back. Gym, 3 meals a day, TV. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Depends what prison you go to, because if you go to local prisons, like probably say, you know, my local prison from Manchester, probably say like Forest Bank, you know, not the likes of Strange Raid, because that's a bit more old and a bit more kind of authoritative. But I mean, like the local prisons, like, you know, your Forest Banks and wherever you are in their locals, like private prisons, like they're much easy. But if you get a long time in prison and you're doing a lot of years and you go to a dispersal prison, then it's a whole different atmosphere. It's a whole different ball game. You're not dealing with your shoplifters, or you know, your petty drug dealers, or you know, your car thieves or anything like that. There's a totally different atmosphere. It's a totally different environment. So, and it's how you conduct yourself while you're in there. So from local to being in dispersal prison, that I kind of got the blessing to kind of experience, it made me see both sides of prison life as well, where it's a totally different ball game being in dispersal. It's all about respect. It's about respect anyway, being in prison and the way you deal with people, but it's more in prison and dispersal. It's more kind of political in a sense where, you know, you just got to know how to conduct yourself. And, you know, if you think you're better than others, or you think you're badder than others, then the smallest guy and the skinniest guy, you know, can take you out of the game just as quick as that. So I wouldn't say it's an easy ride. I would just think that, you know, it's where you go, and you know how you deal with prison, really.
A big shout out to our sponsors, Spider VPN, for all your internet security. Google Spider VPN and they come up at the top of your search list. They can protect your photographs, everything on your computer, passwords. Give the lads a search. They are the boys to trust. Skipsandbins.com, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy contract, free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Also, a big thanks to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 0191 389 7245, and to John at qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Newcastle. And also a big thank you to Jab Signature, who make all of our flyers. If you're a first-time visitor to the channel, click subscribe, which is the little Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner. Hit the thumb up to like the video, click share to share to your social media, and drop into the comments box if you want to ask myself or LOCZ a question. And you can also catch us on iTunes, Spotify, and all podcast providers. And we do shows 7 nights a week. I often ask people who've been to prison if you've ever come across any notorious prisoners, but I already know the answer to this question. And you have actually come across somebody who I know very well, Mr. Charlie Salvador.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that then.
That was an experience for me. That was like a good experience. That was like when I first ever got catted off. Actually, I was 17. I was in Hindley. I just came off a visit with my sister's boyfriend. At the time, it was my sister's baby father, because my sister was pregnant with my niece, like 8 months. She was only 8 months old when I went to prison, so it was roughly around about 2005, 2004. I got carted off to Wood Hill, HMP Wood Hill. I was catty, juvenile catty. And yeah, I actually saw Charlie get married. I think it was in Wood Hill. They let us actually they didn't let us kind of see him or get any close to him or anything, but I actually kind of saw it from the window, just like all the, you know, everything what was happening. So it was kind of like a kind of shocked moment for me to kind of see him in Wood Hill, yeah. But I already knew that he was in there, having to read his book while I was in Hindley. So it was just a blessing for me to kind of go to Hindley, and I mean Wood Hill, and actually kind of see him for myself, and actually kind of see like, is this Charlie guy real? Like, you know, like who is this guy? Like notorious, like prison guy. So yeah, it was amazing to see him, really. Like, it was kind of shocking, really. Yeah.
He's a character, he certainly is, and I will. I know you're planning on sending him a book in, which I know he will enjoy. The one question I'm going to ask you is: are there photographs in the book? Because he does insist on photographs. He read it anyway, but he prefers to have photos in so we can see who's in.
Yeah, it's just like family and couple family photos,
He'll love it. He'll love it as long as as long as
friends.
there's photos in, so we can put a name to the face. That's what he enjoys.
I did actually write to Charlie. This was like, must have been over 10, 15 years ago now, while I was in custody. I think I was in, I got transferred from Marlins to Dovegate, and I think I wrote to him while I was in Dovegate, but I don't think I got a letter back, because I think I was in Dovegate for around about 18 months. But by the time I got a letter and I moved, I went to Franklin. So I don't think anything traced me. So never heard from him since, apart from seeing him in Woodhill like a few years prior.
You'll have to drop that into your letter that you saw him getting married. He'll love that story. Any other notorious faces that you came across in your time that people would know?
Prison.
Yeah.
Notorious.
I mean, I wrote the book, obviously, with Kelly Massey. Did you ever come across Paul Massey? Was that before your time?
That was probably before my time. I went to Franklin in 2009. Stayed there with one of my closest friends as well. For about 2 years, about 2.5 years, I was there. But I don't think anybody that I really knew at that time was in prison while I was in Franklin. Apart from, I think it was on the DPSD side. I think it was like the other side where a lot of the maniacs are, a lot of the other people like that can't be with normal location or normal people. So I think they were just monsters, really. Like it was, I think while I was there, he got his throat cut while I was there, actually. That Ian Huntley was there in Franklin. He got his throat slashed while I was there. But he was like I think it was like on the other side. But I can't say that I came across, because I wasn't in the dispersal system going to like all, you know, through the system. I don't think I can't say that I came across any like famous faces, apart from me just kind of seeing Charlie in Woodhill.
We hear horror stories about prison. We see them now as well, because phones are sneaked into prisons. We see people off their face on Spice. You know, how bad a problem are drugs in the prison system?
Drugs.
Is it a currency now?
Like depends if you're involved in that, really. Like like for me, I don't think like drugs kind of concerned me while I was in prison, because like there wasn't really kind of any benefits apart from having weed. So if I had weed and a bit of making and bit of hooch, they were the only kind of like things I was around. But you see a lot of like other people that are on the wing that, you know, that take, you know, drugs. But this is like well before Spice, because Spice is only just relevant now over the past few years. So if going back 10, 15 years, there was just probably say a lot of like dope fiends that was coming off crack and heroin, that was coming off the street, and obviously, you know, getting like having to detox on like medication and stuff. So you do see it a lot. It's rife, but depends like who you're associated with, or like what sort of prison you go to, what sort of wing you're on, and stuff like that. So just comes under down a load of things, really.
Was your mindset to go in and rebel, or to conform?
Well, at first, when I went in, like I just carried the street kind of mentality into prison. So I was just like fighting all the time with other inmates, like other juveniles. I was on basic 24/7. I was getting segregated. Like I wasn't going to like work. I wasn't going to education. Like yeah, I rebelled against the prison system a lot. So I didn't like authority anyway. So I just think going to prison and being around like screws and them telling me what to do, when to eat, this, that, and the other. Like I didn't like that at all. So like I rebelled against it. So I was on basic, no TV. Like though can't hardly anything to spend on the canteen. Like I had it. I went through prison like for the first probably say 2-3 years, like just rebelling, just not disregarding everything, just getting write-ups all the time, getting nicked left, right, and center, going to see the governor. Yeah, my file was bad. Like no other prison really kind of wanted to accept me because I was just just being a little shit really. So they sent me to Morelands, and that's where all the kind of like a dumping ground where all the where all the bad behaved people go. So I was in there for like 3 years, and then that's before I went to Dovegate. That was like when I was like juvenile. I was in Hindley when I was a juvenile, and then when I turned, obviously I got Cat Aid off, went to Woodhill. From Woodhill, I went to Strangeways, starred up. From Strangeways, after I got sentenced, I went to Morelands. From Morelands, I went to Dovegate. From Dovegate, I went to Frankland. From Frankland, I went to HMP Liverpool, and then I was finally released in 2012. From 2004 to 2012, so it was like 8 years. Done 8 years out of the 10-year sentence. I've done 8 years out of it.
What was your sentence actually for?
Sentence was for firearm shootings, ammunition, just a load of gang related stuff that consists of just being in that life of like being involved in the, like as they say, the gang really. But I just done it to protect my people that I was around. But because where I was from and who I was friends with, I got classed as obviously being involved in GOOCH, as they would say. Yeah, so I think that was kind of like basically why they labeled me that, is because of I got arrested, and it was kind of like rival between GOOCH and Dodderton at that time. So yeah, that was like kind of one of the reasons.
Dominique says, so proud of you. Thank you for sharing your story. Wishing you the best in sharing your truth. So touching, powerful, and inspiring. And Jay says, prison is a mental thing just as much as physical. The same way life is a mental thing just as much as physical. Which is a good point made by Jay. And Ryan, who has been a prisoner himself, caused a little bit of debate in the chat, but he says, well done for changing your life, mate. So how did you change your life?
I think having a son. Obviously, my son, when I got out of prison in 2012, I met obviously my son's mum now, and it really just kicked it off. Really, like it was kind of obviously from being in prison for 8 years to coming home. Obviously, I was kind of excited. But one thing I can say is that I didn't come out really kind to like get with loads of women or it's. I know what there's a difference from being in prison and you think to yourself, "Oh, I've missed this and I've missed so much things and I've missed that." But when you actually do get out and you actually see it for what it is, it's like you've not really missed it. It's just not been there for you to do. So I kind of came out with more of a level head, thinking I'm not gonna get involved in no stupid relationship or have a kid to some dumb woman that's gonna lead me to, get back into a bad situation where I'll end up back into prison for doing anything daft. Or I just didn't want to come home after so long and waste my time after having to educating myself for so long in prison. So I came out with a level head that I kind of came out with knowing what I was like kind of wanting to do really.
It's
And
it's a good example to anybody watching, anybody who's tempted by the glorification of crime on TV or in films or in books. Not to go down that particular path. And again, it's something which you have on the back cover of the book. That it's certainly an educational book, but you offer a clear message, don't you, to the world. And you're basically telling youngsters that really what they should concentrate on is their family, their future, and not really to give themselves limited options in life by getting involved in the gang culture, which ultimately could lead to you being shot, beaten up, stabbed. You could end up dead or locked up for life. And essentially, you should spend your life wisely because you only get one.
exactly, that's like, but sometimes it does take for you to go through certain situations in life and for you to kind of understand certain situations, for you to kind of get over certain things in life that do occur. So i think this, yeah, it's just a message of like, it's not where we're from, it's where we're going, and it's not how we start, it's how we finish. So if we and I'm just blessed me personally to be here and not be dead, and not having to spend my life in prison, because the experiences that I've had, it kind of gives me the blessing to kind of push that on to the likes of my son, the likes of people like me where I'm from, that it can be done. And it's not about giving the world negativity, or like thinking that you're a bad man, better than others or anything like that. It's about looking after your family and just probably just doing the right thing. Not to say people out there that are involved in certain things and they have to make certain decisions, but if you can avoid it, then it's best too, because for the likes of myself, can give you an example of many things in life that I've been involved in, and things have just not gone right. So if it doesn't go right for me and you're doing the same thing, it's inevitable what's going to happen. So yeah, it's not a thing of me telling you or anybody that not to do this or not to do that. It's just examples of my experience in life that I can give and pass down to, like I said, the likes of myself and people like you, Steve, that don't know anything about Manchester. You can read about it, and it's not, like I said, it's not just all about gangs. And Manchester's a beautiful place that the outsiders need to understand that, these beautiful people where we're from. So it's about this, I don't discriminate against age or color. It's for everybody to pick up and take something from, and just learn, whether it's learn the history of where we're from, or education. There's a lot of stuff about education in there that other people can, even the teachers can learn some stuff off this. And like that's my aim, is to kind of show, like I said, the narrative, change the narrative from the outside, that people like myself with no qualifications, no GCSEs, like no experience with jobs that that I've been out there, that I've had the opportunity to, like, my life's just been consistent of prison, violence, and funerals, and like just like misery and pain. So like if I've got the chance to spread that knowledge from all the past people that have departed, that are no longer here today, they're the people that I've had the knowledge that I've not had the chance to pass down to people. So if I can give it to people and spread the awareness for people to kind of like see us in a different light, instead of just like I say, like just gangbangers and bad people, then you know, it takes me to do that, then that's what I'm here to do. So that's one of the reasons why, you know, I've put the message in the book. You know, it's not just for the kids, it's for the, you know, older generation as well, to kind of like, you know, step away from that ignorance and kind of just have an open mind in it, and stop being so judgmental to people. Like, people, like, you know, people can change, man, just for the right reasons, and do better, not for themselves but for everybody else too. Open some doors that have been closed for, you know, for many years. So if I can open some for people to, you know, benefit from, then, you know, it's not about the fame for me or anything else. It's about, you know, helping others like myself, you know, have a better life. And, you know, for my son, for my friend's son, my friend's daughters, and, you know, for everybody else. So, you know, like, the book's a message for everybody that wants to, you know, change, and I'm a product of that. I can do it, so you can do it.
Shaul, apologies if that pronunciation's wrong, but they ask, at present, who would you say is the most influential person in your life?
Right now, like, probably my mum, innit? Like, my mum's been through, like, thick and thin with me, even just like before she even had me. Like, my mum's been through like a difficult life, and I just wanted to kind of give, been through a difficult life, but also a balanced life at the same time. So she, you know, even when her growing up, like, it's all beautiful and stuff. But for me, kind of adding on to that stress that I gave her growing up, and doing all these like crazy stuff when I was out, obviously being involved in the people that I was involved with as my friends, that was, you know, having no care in the world about, you know, their own life or anybody else's life. You know, my mum was worried for me. Like, you know, my mum's a big part of my life, so I think my mum's kind of like the major kind of influence, like the major rock that kind of like makes me kind of like push forward, because, you know, like, she's been through enough, but we're still going through it, because, you know, the struggle ain't over. So I think my mum's kind of like my major kind of influence in my life, of kind of like, you know, she's a definition of keeping it moving, really, like, just keeping it pushing. So, like, that's it. That's like my mum's like the major part in my life. Yeah.
Ryan says he thinks the biggest problem with prison is when you need to get back to normal life, they always judge you on your past. It is difficult, I guess, to come back out and to walk into to something. But I've seen it. I've seen some people come out and not try, and just go back down the same old route. But I have seen some success stories as well, and you know, I think that, you know, there is ways and means, but I guess it's what you've got within yourself, isn't it, when you come out of those prison gates?
Yeah, that's it as well. It's not also about coming out, and, you know, some people don't have a lot of support when they come out of prison. And if you ain't got a family, or if you ain't got good close kind of network, you know, some people do struggle, and that's where like probation, and that's where the people within them higher places need to kind of, you know, do a bit more when people do come out of prison. Because I was one of those where I came out of prison, and they just kind of threw me in a hostel, and, you know, they didn't really kind of give me the help that I needed to kind of like move forward. So that kind of made me think, well, the only way that I do know how to get money is the fast way. But obviously the fast way, you know, it's inevitable. What's going to happen is you can do it for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, you know, maybe have a good run for 4 or 5 years, but at the end of it, it's just all gonna, you know, collapse, and all gonna go. It's all gonna go tits up for you. So I think, you know, I think probation needs to do more, like, for people, you know, like myself, that came out of prison and was just left alone, just to like kind of fend for themselves. But if people ain't got that strong network, then what do you expect people to do? Like, you know, people come from deprived, you know, backgrounds as it is already, and it's struggling just to survive. So, you know, if people ain't going to get that right support that they need, then, you know, authorities can't expect people not to by any means eat food, basically. So no, I don't think anyone wants to starve.
Okay, we'll finish off on the book Through the Eyes of Mine, which will be available towards the end of this month on Amazon and on other selective places. Isn't that right?
Yeah. The release is the 21st of October on my mum's birthday, but you can go onto all the platforms, Amazon and all the major retail stores around the world, and they'll have it for pre-order for people to purchase right now. Yeah.
Great stuff. So pre-order, get the pre-orders done as soon as you can, and make a fantastic book coming through for yourself. Buy one for yourself and buy one for somebody else for Christmas. What made you write the book?
I think that was like the journey as a child. It's like just having the different upbringing from most kids. From where I was from, I can only learn from my own experiences and kind of just give people and give parents and give the likes of all these people in the higher places, someone that's actually lived it and gone through it, whether it's care, whether it's prison, whether it's streets, whether it's anything to do with the likes of going to prison or the lead up to the prison, being involved in criminality. Like there's nothing that I've kind of not been involved in. So it's just I think it was that, like I said, and the positive way of giving back to people where I'm from, like myself, that and the narrative as well, from changing the narrative from outside looking in, that we're not all gangbangers, and we're not all drug dealers, and we're not all low lives, or we don't just wake up in the morning and think what can we rob or anything like that. There's talent, there's major talent where I'm from, and it just takes something within themselves to kind of bring it out. So I think it was more kind of given like a major influence to people like myself where I'm from, that whether you're doing music or whether you've got something that you love to do, like I just feel like to fulfill it, like it's all right doing it, but can you actually achieve it? Can you actually get it done? So I think just getting it done for myself, and just to talk about my experiences and my life and surviving and being here today, to actually tell my story, is a blessing for me. So I think there's a lot of reasons why I wrote the book, but I think the main one is just to kind of spread the awareness to help others where I'm from, that it's not where we're from, it's where we're going, and we can do better to kind of change our lives. And like I said, all the lost knowledge that from people that have passed in the past, and that are no longer with us today, all the knowledge has been lost. So I think I just need to refresh I just need to kind of just give people the knowledge, instead of just kind of letting it fade away and be lost again forever. So if I don't do it, then who else is going to do it? You know what I mean? So I just think it takes one person just to make a stand in it, and just give that positive way, on educational way, that, like I said, despite my life in the past, I'm moving forward and creating, trying to create, these doors that have been closed, not even just for me, but for many other people, like me, where we're from. So it's just giving people inspiration in it, and people that are older than me, myself, people that are younger than me, people that are the same age as me, women or men, it can be done. We need to, can be done, man. And it's just all about that grit and determination. And like, going back to the point, Steve, like you said, it's just whether or not coming out of prison, it's just whether or not you want to make a difference for yourself, and not just, tell people that you want to make a difference. It's about if you want it for yourself. So I think that was one of the main reasons I wanted to kind of make a difference for myself, and change the narrative from the outside looking in for people like myself that, you know, we're not all bad, man, and we've got some major talent, and we've got some major people, like some major you know, some major people, like where I'm from in Manchester especially, that I've got good talent. And you know, it's just, I think I'm just thinking that if I do this, I think I'm gonna just, like, you know, this spark that little thing in, you know, to many other people, to, you know, just do something, man, and just change something within them lives. So I think that was the main reason why I'd done the book, is to, you know, change myself, as well as, you know, leave something behind for my son as well, man, because he's only 8, and you know, he's got a long time to grow up. So I want him to see, you know, and for me to leave something behind, you know, that he can always fall back on. So hopefully, you know, we'll just see where the book actually does take me, and you know, we'll just see what kind of doors it does open, and you know, we'll just see how it goes.
Great stuff. A lot of positive messages, as I've said already, coming in. Your Mardukes will be one proud woman now, fam. Keep climbing, says Jay. John says, good to see you spreading a positive message. Good luck with the book, and well done on turning your life around. Jason says, no success without struggle. Well done, bro. And
Yeah.
Stu Walker says, you've come a long way, Lux. And he followed up with, Sayana says, you should be so proud of yourself, Aaron. It's a great achievement.
Thanks.
And official AR DeVille says, Ohio, support your book, bro, dope. So
Shouts out to AR DeVille in Akron, Ohio. Like, yeah, they're official, and I always tap in. They do music as well. So if anybody's out there that don't know about Akron, Ohio, or any of them people from there, like, they're dope. So I'd go and check them out.
great stuff, mate. Anybody else you'd like to thank for the journey that you've taken with the book?
With the book itself, like I am the author of it, and there's been no kind of ghostwriter behind it. You know, it's just been all me, like, for the past 5 years since I've been out of prison. You know, just dedicating, like, my time, you know, to, like I said, to do something useful with my time. And it took me a long time to do. And I could just thank myself for, like, kind of getting it done and achieving it, and kind of proud of myself for kind of, you know, fulfilling my dream, and which was just an idea, obviously, so long ago. And yeah, it's just, but on the flip side, I just like to thank, like, most of my family and stuff like that. And you know, I've got a lot of good people and a lot of tight friends that are out there probably watching this today, and you know who you are. And it's just a lot of people in prison as well that are due to come home. And it's just, you know, everybody just needs to get back with the family from prison, whether you're doing life or doing a long time. And it's not so long that day will come. So, you know, it's just it's just a shout out to, you know, all my people, all my friends and family that are going to support my book, or are supporting my book, and are supporting the movement of, you know, the positive change. And you know, just you know, just a good look. So I just want to just give just a big shout out to all my people, man, that are there supporting me. And you know, let's keep it going, because the struggle don't stop here. So, you know, keep it knocking.
Great stuff. Ryan says, cheers for the show. If you look in the description box below the video, I've put a link into where you can pre-order. The book comes out next month. Fantastic book, fantastic journey, Lux. I'm sure we will speak again and keep in touch. And we'll let Charlie Salvador know that his book will be in the post.
Definitely.
But yeah, keep in touch, man. And well done on the journey. And, you know, good luck with everything you choose to do, mate.
Thank you, Steve. And obviously, I just wanted to give a shout out to you as well, for giving me opportunity to kind of, you know, spread the awareness to promotion of my book, and just kind of tell, you know, tell your people and my people a little, just a bit about myself, things that they didn't, you know, kind of know. So yeah, thanks for that opportunity. And yeah, we'll speak again. You know, we'll stay in touch. So any more endeavors that you've got or I've got, I'll be sure to let you know what's kind of cracking in the future. So yeah.
Good stuff, mate. Fantastic. And I've got to ask you, because we do a lot of football on here, are you a football fan?
Yeah, support United.
Oh, Newcastle, because there's only one United. I was at Old Trafford. I was at Old Trafford the other week, mate. It was going well when it was 1-1, but then that Ronaldo, dear me out.
Well, when we got you, I think when we got you next.
We'll probably don't play until Christmas period now. I think our Christmas period is Manchester City, Manchester United, Liverpool, Everton, and Leicester in December. I think the Premier League want Newcastle to get relegated, mate. I think it's as simple as that. I'll finish with Margaret. She says, "Thank you everyone for all the positive comments. Much appreciated. It means a lot to me and the family."
That's my mother, Steve.
Fantastic. Well, there you go. What a positive way to finish, eh? And somebody who you know you're immensely proud of, and now your mum has told you that she's immensely proud of you. What a way to finish.
That's a blessing, man. So. And yeah, big shout out to my mum as well. So yeah, for tapping in. So yeah, thank you, Steve, and just hope to speak to you again. Stay in touch.
Yeah, take care, mate. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you everybody for the kind comments and the questions. I will be back again tomorrow night with the football Fab 4 show, and of course that starts a little earlier at 4 o'clock. But for now, it's thanks to LOCZ and good luck with the book. Take care, mate. Bye bye.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself.